How we doing? How we doing? This is Destination Denver, Colorado, and today, why moving to Denver, Colorado in 2023 could be a mistake, and we're talking about it starting right now. All right, this is Destination Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Jimmy Everett, and listen, if you're interested in learning all the ins and outs, pros and cons to moving to or around Denver, Colorado, then this is a channel for you. So that subscribe button and notification icon popping up on your screen, make sure you click on that as I'm dropping new videos for you each and every week. And listen, as much as I try to get a little creative here on camera, I'm also a licensed mortgage broker covering the entire state of Colorado and team with some of Denver's most talented realtors. So the number and email you see on your screen, know that I am always the person answering your phone calls, answer your texts, answer your emails, there when and if you need me. Now that we're through that fun-filled stuff, let's get to what we're here for, and that is why moving to Denver, Colorado in 2023 could be a mistake. All right, so for a little more than a decade, Denver has been a pretty hot city. Lots of population, lots of growth around the city, new infrastructure, new restaurants, new bars, new people, all these good things. But obviously it can't all be positive. So today we want to talk about why there may be pause before somebody makes the move to Denver in 2023. And the first one stems off of all of that growth, and that is Denver has become a pretty expensive place to live. In a recent survey out of 50 metropolitan cities, Denver house prices sat 7th out of those 50. And it's not just about buying a house, it is also about renting a place. And we saw rents increase in the Denver area by about 21% in the last 2 years alone. So Denver as a whole went from a town that at one point was, I think most locals would call affordable and pleasant, to a town that is pretty expensive, a place that has outpriced a lot of natives and in fact outpriced a lot of people who thought about moving here. And that increase in expense again rolls back to point number 2, and that is that population growth. That is that saturation of people that have moved here. And what we've seen in Denver is that a lot of the people moving here are coming from other high cost areas that cost more than Denver. And despite the people in my comments who want to argue with me that San Francisco and Seattle are not as expensive as Denver, because Google would tell you otherwise, but that's where we're seeing a lot of movement from, are these areas, LA, Washington, DC, that tend to have, for the most part, higher costs than Denver does. So they can come here, they can rent a place for cheaper or a nicer place cheaper than they're used to. They can buy a place, again, cheaper than they are used to. And that's outpricing a lot of the people that already live here. Now, at the same time, a lot of the people that are moving out of Denver are moving to areas where they can find some more affordability. So you see a bit of passing of the ships in the sea, if you will, on that level. And to some extent, that overcrowding has affected us in a lot of different ways. Traffic is different than it was 10, 15 years ago. People will be annoyed by how often there's a slowdown, how much longer it might take you to get from one destination to another. Now, if you're used to that already, not gonna bother you. But if you're not, Denver gets worse and worse, not better and better. The third reason you might not wanna move here is if you're looking for Denver to be like the Old West, because the fact is, it's not anymore. There was a time, I like to joke that Denver used to be a cow town. I liked the fact, to an extent, that you could go downtown and you would leave the city, start heading out west for the most part, for me anyway, and as you got closer to the mountains, within 10, 15 minutes of the city, you'd see a ranch. You'd see horses out in a field. I shouldn't say a ranch. I don't want you to get the idea that there were farms 10 minutes outside of town, but Denver really had an Old West vibe to it. And I don't know if that exists at quite the level it did. Can you find it pretty quickly? Yes. I think you get out to Golden, you feel some Old West vibes. You get out to Morrison, you get up to the foothills, you start feeling it. But Denver, and kind of what made the city, a lot of that has changed. And people either like those changes or they really dislike those changes. And the ones that dislike it, it's for that fact that it's losing some of those roots. It's losing some of that Old West gold rush vibe to it. And that can be a breaking point for some people who are thinking about moving here, and especially people who might have lived in Colorado before and are thinking about moving back. And a lot of the feedback I get from friends and clients that are moving here or moving around here is that a lot of them are moving farther into the foothills or getting closer to the mountains if they like that vibe, because that's where they're going to need to go to get it. They might have gotten a bit of that in Denver before, not as much now, so they're starting to move west to get to it. And with all those people moving west, here comes point number 4, and that is, yes, nature in Denver and Colorado is awesome, but this overcrowding doesn't just affect the city, it affects our hiking trails, our ski slopes, all of it. So, there was a time where you could go to any of the hikes in Denver and you might see some other people on the trail. Obviously, they weren't completely empty, but man, for the most part, it was you, your friends, your dog, and nature. And now, especially on some of the more popular trails, it's like standing in line waiting to see the tree around the corner. There's certain hikes, certain trails that are fan favorites and local favorites that you just know if it's a pretty day out, if the sun's out and it's not going to rain and it's not too hot, all of those things, that the trail is just going to be packed and that you're going to see dozens upon dozens upon dozens of people. Does that mean that every single time you take a hike, you're going to be surrounded by people? No, I just don't feel, and I think a lot of my friends and locals would agree with this, you just don't get that level of intimate privacy that you used to get on certain trails, even some of the busier ones. Population growth, overcrowding, it's got to extend. That extends also to winter sports. So people going up to the mountains, anybody will tell you, I-70, our east-west highway running into the Rocky Mountains. On a Thursday and Friday, expect traffic going west to get pretty thick. A lot of people heading up to the slopes. You'll see ski lines. Now again, certain slopes are going to be easier than others, but you're going to see certain slopes where the people are just everywhere and the lines to get on a lift are very long. And then when you're coming back on Sunday afternoon, prepare for some serious traffic coming back on I-70, especially if there's any type of weather where you might be in traffic for several hours in what would have normally been a 2-hour drive. So this population growth and a lot of people coming to Colorado, obviously a lot of them are coming for nature. They're coming for the mountains. They're coming for hikes and biking and all of those things. And because they are doing that, some of those things that we love very much are just not as private or not as secluded as they once were. Does that mean hiking is no longer enjoyable in Denver? Obviously not. It's just a different vibe. Like Denver used to be the Old West, hiking trails used to be empty. There you have it. So reason number 5 why you might not want to move to Denver in 2023 is the job market. So Denver sees a lot of economic growth. We have a lot of different sectors. I've talked about this in plenty of videos, whether it's finance, tech, education, health, oil and gas, you name it. However, again, with that inflection of population growth, population numbers are stabilizing, but people who are coming here for specific jobs are not. So, at least according to a lot of my friends, colleagues, and clients, the job market is extremely competitive here in Denver. There are certain positions, certainly some of these higher paying jobs where there are a lot of people going after them. So the job market in general, the ability to get a job is very good. The ability to get a job that pays decent is very good. Again, according to all the resources that you can find online, as well as boots on the ground people I've talked to. But when it comes to those higher paying jobs, when it comes to jobs that really help people level up, those jobs are extremely competitive and that job market is tightening. Obviously, 2022 has seen some changes. We've seen some industries do layoffs, different things there. That is certainly playing a part of it, but something to consider, and we'll see how that changes. And obviously, I'll do some updates here as that continues to progress. And reason number 6 that you might not want to move to Denver, Colorado in 2023 is if winter or not having water isn't your thing. Now, time and time again, I see people who move to Colorado and move to Denver and they say, you know what, I don't like the cold, I don't want to deal with snow, but I think I can deal with it in Denver. Or, you know what, I live next to a lake, or I live close to the ocean, or I really like water sports, but I think I can deal with the fact that Denver doesn't have a lot of water. And then they come here and they really get frustrated, because the fact is, while Denver has, in my humble opinion and that of a lot of others, really good weather, it does get cold here. It does snow here. There are 3 months, maybe 4 months, where you don't want to go outside as often as you might in warmer climates. That's a thing. Right now, last couple days as I'm making this video, we've had -degree weather, and it's been pretty brutal. Doesn't last very long, but for some people, they come here and that is just, it breaks them. They don't want to deal with it. And at the same time, I have people who say, you know what, I know that I really like taking my boat out, and I like water sports, and I like fishing. Not that we don't have fishing in Colorado, but I like water. I like having a lot of water. Well, Denver and the surrounding areas doesn't. We've got a few reservoirs. We've got a few places that you can take a boat. But if you are coming from an area that was close to the ocean or close to a lot of big lakes, we have ponds here. That's what you're going to see when you see our reservoirs and our lakes. So if that's a big deal to you, that might be a make or break proposition for you in coming to Denver, something to consider. I like just saying something to consider, because then it puts it on you, because at the end of the day, you can take my input, but it's your decision. That's just kind of how the world works. I mean, I wish more people listened to me, but my own family doesn't, so what can I do? All right, and I had to wrap up with fan favorites. This was people, I'm talking to and asking them, what is it about Denver that would stop you from moving here or would have stopped you from moving here? And so here are their 4 favorites quickly. One, that we don't talk about how dry it is. And yes, when we say Denver doesn't have water, I mean, it gets dry. It gets, my fingers keep cracking. You can't really see it. Like, my fingers crack, my toes crack. And yes, I know I should put on more lotion. My wife tells me all the time, but I put on lotion every 5 minutes in this dry weather. So dry is bad in Colorado. Next up, our air quality has definitely slipped. And in the last couple years, can't even deny it. Air quality in Colorado was something, I mean, you get up to the mountains, you get fresh air, but there's been, and a lot of it is wildfires in Colorado and wildfires west of us, but there have just been more and more days, especially in the summertime, where there's just a haze, where you get up in the morning, you look towards downtown, and the city just doesn't look as clear, so our air quality has definitely slipped. Third fan complaint is car break-ins, which honestly are on the rise. We saw a 35% increase in car crimes in the last year. A lot more break-ins. A lot of that is being reported in the downtown area. I am not an expert on car crimes. I just know that that is something that, we're hearing more and more of, more friends talking about it, more clients talking about it, cars getting broken into, cars getting stolen. I've never had it happen to me. I haven't had anybody directly that I've talked to in the last, God knows how long that has, but it is on the rise statistically, and word of mouth getting around that it's an issue. And the fourth reason, and something that I always say, is that natives in Colorado were just weird. I take pride in the fact that I'm not a weird native of Colorado, but the rest, I shouldn't say the rest, all of them, but you got the ones that they ride with their bumper stickers on their car that say native. They're the ones that you run into them and they ask you, where are you from? And you go, oh, I'm from California, I'm from Oregon, I'm from Texas. And they're like, oh, another person from Texas. Because, I don't know, the fact that they were born here makes them superior Colorado living people. But natives being the other annoyance. So those are your 4 fan favorites. Dry skin, the fact that cars get broken into. I had to glance real quick at my notes. Cars get broken into. Air quality sucks at times. That one I do. And the fact that natives are annoying as can be sometimes. But those are just a handful of the reasons not to move to Denver, Colorado in 2023. But at the end of the day, I live here. That's a pretty damn good reason to move here. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to hit me up. The number and email popping up on your screen. I'm always the person answering your phone calls, answering your texts, answering your emails. There when and if you need me. This is Destination Denver, Colorado. I am your host, Jimmy Everett. That was why moving to Denver, Colorado in 2023 could be a mistake. Until I see you next time, peace.